Welcome back to Capitol Review. I'm Mark Hall. If you talk to Maryland residents, most are proud to call the state home. There's a lot to see and do. Meanwhile, the governor and lawmakers have a lot of work to do to address a massive budget problem. Dr. Mileah Kromer is the director of the Institute of Politics at the University of Maryland, Baltimore County. Dr. Kromer, welcome back to Capitol Review.
Hi, thanks for having me.
We're always glad to have you. You recently conducted a poll asking Marylanders what they like most about the state. What did you find?
Right, the UMBC poll, this is actually a question that we tacked on our February poll that has already been released. But in honor of Maryland Day, we saved this question for this week, and we asked Marylanders what their very favorite things were about the state of Maryland. And I think, not a surprise to anybody, a lot of Marylanders mentioned that the natural environment and sort of the ability to go from the mountains to the ocean in a single day, that was a big thing that people really liked, that sort of that nice geographic diversity. People also lauded the people in the communities. A lot of people mentioned like how friendly the communities were, how diverse the communities were. A bunch of different people live here in the state. And other folks really mentioned that what makes Maryland, I think, famous probably nationwide is our food and our sort of culinary culture. People mentioned Old Bay seasoning and crabs and crab cakes. That's what Maryland does. And they're really excited to talk about those things. And so it's a nice opportunity for us to highlight a positive thing people are thinking about Maryland, particularly as we're facing, I think, a really tough budgetary situation.
You know, it's interesting. Friends of mine, myself included, what we like about Maryland is either on the same tank of gas or the same EV charge. We can go to the professional sporting event and then literally go to the mountains and go hiking. I mean, that's pretty cool.
That is one thing. I mean, that's the blessing of living in a small state that has this really rich geographic and ecological diversity, is you are able to do that. We also have some beautiful open space and parks. So there is a lot to do in Maryland. So it was really lovely to see Marylanders responding like this and telling us exactly what they love so much about living here.
And Dr. Kromer, you mentioned earlier about the budget concerns Governor Moore and lawmakers still need to address the $3 million budget shortfall. How did we get here?
So it's tough, right? And so Maryland lawmakers had to make some really tough decisions. This week there was a really marathon House session that happened, and by the time I think this program airs, the Senate will be taking up what the House has passed. What we find is that, we have this looming budget deficit, and so when you have a budget deficit, you have a choice. You can either cut government programs and spending, or you can raise revenue through taxes and fees. And what the government has, or the Democrats and the leadership in the legislature, as well as Governor Moore, have proposed a package that increases some taxes and fees. There are cuts elsewhere. I think it's important to note where some of the increases are. They have chosen to increase some taxes on cannabis, as well as sports betting, and on Marylanders who make the highest income levels. And I can tell you as a pollster, typically raising taxes is not a popular endeavor for any lawmaker. But if you're going to have to raise taxes, typically the taxes that are most popular among average Marylanders are what we call sin taxes, those on gambling or drugs or cigarettes, those types of things, and taxes on individuals who are among the wealthiest in the state.
And quickly, Dr. Kromer, there's no way out. There's no easy way out. It's going to impact people.
No, there's no easy way out. And I think a lot of folks on the floor of the House this week really did, recognize that these were tough choices that were going to leave a lot of people sort of unhappy. But these are the decisions that you have to make. If at the same time, Marylanders, and I can tell you across the board, Marylanders do want to see, good public schools. They want to see investment in roads and highways and sort of infrastructure and those types of things. And so to have the government services, you have to have government funding. And the state is facing a serious budgetary constraint. And this is a decision that the Democratic-led governor or the General Assembly and their governor, this is the proposal they have come up with. It certainly has received a lot of pushback from Republicans in the Maryland General Assembly.
Dr. Mileah Kromer, thank you so very much for joining us in Capitol Review.
Thank you.